welcome to the Dave Whitty Show. I'm your host, Dave Whitty. Thanks for joining me again, folks. Hope you're having a great week out there. I want to say big thanks to Mark Ballard for coming on last week. Absolutely. I mean, no discredit to any of my other guests, but I just loved hearing that story. I mean, I read that book Into Thin Air a long time ago, and I've just been kind of like enthralled with Everest ever since. And to actually know somebody and actually chat with somebody who did that enormous trek, I just thought was just crazy. So yeah, big thanks to Mark Ballard. And if anybody here is tuning in this week and might have missed last week, sorry, you can find it on my YouTube channel or Spotify or wherever you're listening to this podcast. You can check out the episode with Mark Ballard, who is a Newfoundlander who climbed Mount Everest over the course of 7 weeks. Just a crazy story, and a really nice guy and super interesting conversation. Got another great conversation today coming up with Nick Earle, who's a fantastic musician from St. John's. He's young, man. He's like 21 years old. He's been playing music literally for obviously his whole life, but he's been actually playing, consecutively and with different bands and professionally for like 8 years. I mean, this guy's 21. You talk to him, he's got a world of knowledge. It blows my mind every time you talk to Nick, because he just is so easy to talk to, and he really knows what's going on. He knows the scene, he knows the industry, and he's just an awesome dude, like super nice and funny and just a great conversation. So make sure you do stick around for that conversation with Nick Earle. That's coming up in a little bit. With regards to myself, I had a fun weekend. I did a few gigs. I played at Golf Shots in Mount Pearl, where I'll be doing every second Thursday, so you can come and find me there at Mount Pearl. Got a great little pub in there where you can go in and do the golf simulators and there's a bunch of games, ping pong and darts, and great space to sit back and watch some games, watch a hockey game or watch a baseball game or watch a golf tournament. So you can find me there every second Thursday. Friday I did a really fun gig at the Bull and Barrel, which is one of my favorite places within the city. I love it so much there. It's just like a real homey vibe. It's like you're hanging out with all your friends and at one of the boys' living rooms or something like that. I mean, it's a really great spot. The staff there rules. The crowd that hangs out there, it's always like musicians and bar staff and just really cool people who love to hear music. Big thanks to Tino and the gang over there for getting me on there Friday. They've got a new live stream set up. You might have seen that from my social media pages at the Bull live streams. They're one of their sets from their artists who perform on the weekend. So if you might have caught that, it was a nice little treat to have that live feed up there. I had a ton of great comments from that one too, so thanks to that. Saturday went out around the bay, out to the cabin, and had a little laugh with a few of my friends, and just played some darts and watched a couple of the Jays games. And Sunday I was back in town for my gig at Greensleeves, where you can find me every Sunday, at least for the summer anyways. There at 6:30s on Sundays. I mean, it's half price appetizers, guys, $6 pints. Really great deal on Sunday evenings, and you get yours truly down there banging out some tunes. So come on down and see me some weekend or some Sunday when you're relaxing and you just want to kick back maybe and order a little grub and hear some live tunes. The world of sports has been, entertaining at no doubt. I mean, the Leafs have lost 3 in a row. I'm not going to go too hard on the Leafs this week. I really dug into the Leafs last week, and I was chatting with a few people over the weekend who said they're really big fans of the podcast, and they thought it was interesting how much of the Leafs I talked about. But then I said, you know what? This is why I started a podcast, because I wanted an area to talk about the Leafs. I'm a big sports guy, guys. Like, I love this. I love sports so much. I mean, I'm a musician. I'm a songwriter, and I love all things that come with that scene and industry. But I love bullshitting sports. Like, I love talking about hockey and baseball and basketball and everything. So I'm not gonna dig too much on the Leafs. I mean, we're 3-game skid right now. Goaltending's looking shaky. I pumped Jack Campbell's tires really hard there a few weeks ago, and this guy looks shaky right now. So it's going to be interesting to see when the new lineup additions come in. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with the goaltending. But once we get all those pieces in place, then we can really give it a good assessment. I mean, must be only 12 or 13 games left. I thought it was really interesting. They played the Vancouver Canucks. And even if you're not a sports fan, I mean, you can appreciate this. And I do too, because I mean, with this thing that's going on in the world with COVID, and I mean, it's affected everybody, no doubt, guys. It's affected everybody. And the Vancouver Canucks, they had, I think, 21 personnel on their team who got this like Brazilian variant, so it wasn't just a regular COVID. I mean, so they were out of commission, I think 3 weeks. The first game back they played against the Leafs, and they were down 2-0. Kind of looked like the Leafs were going to run away with it, and Vancouver stormed back and pulled out a big win. I mean, kudos to them, and kudos to Braden Holtby, their goaltender. He had a crazy good game. But yeah, it's you really got to hand it to the Canucks after coming back. I'm sure those guys still weren't feeling 100%. So I thought that was outstanding on their behalf. Sucks to see the Leafs lose, but I'm a fan of sports, so I like good sports stories. Looks like the Raptors are just on heavy tank mode right now, which is hilarious. They're just getting fined every game for not starting their players, but I don't even know What a shit show of a season for the Raptors. They've been playing in Tampa Bay all year. They haven't been able to play at home. So, I mean, it's kind of a write-off year. Be interesting to see what happens in the offseason with the Raptors and if they make any big moves. And if at all possible, they'll be coming back to Canada anytime soon. But, with the state that Ontario is in right now, it's really not looking too promising. Ontario's announcing like thousands of cases a day again. Really tough situation going on there. We've been so lucky here in Newfoundland. I mean, we've had some pretty big scares and stuff, but it looks like we're pretty much smooth sailing again here now for a little while. I mean, as long as everybody stays, sort of, on route and on par and trying to keep it all together and staying safe. That's the main thing, and really trying to keep this summer open here in Newfoundland, because it would make a huge difference to, everyone's mental health. Everyone's getting there at this point with this thing. So yeah, not going to ramble on too much about sports this week. Going to leave it to had a really great interview with Nick Earle. He was fantastic. So I'm just going to throw it over to him right now. So make sure you do stick around for Nick Earle. And I'd like to welcome Nick Earle to the podcast. Thanks for joining me today, Nick. How you doing, man?
Oh man, thanks for having me. I'm doing good, keeping busy as much as possible. But yeah, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, man. Pretty productive day around here. I watched my friend put some wall sconces into my wall, and I went to Home Depot and picked up some trim. I mean, I don't know if that's what I've been dealing with these days, but anyways, yeah, thanks for coming on today, man. I really appreciate you taking a little bit of time out of your day. I know you've been pretty busy and you got lots going on. For our listeners at home, can you just maybe introduce yourself, let everybody know who you are?
Yeah, I'm a singer-songwriter from St. John's, Newfoundland, and I hope to be for the next while. Hey,
I hear you, man. No, you're absolutely fantastic, Nick. I've known you for. It feels like my whole life, and you're not even old. I mean, I'm sure you must get that all the time. But I mean, you've been beating around for years, man. You've been playing shows and at awards showcases and all that stuff. And, and I feel like, even over the last couple of years, we've got to know each other quite a bit better. I mean, you've performed with me on a couple of occasions, a big Christmas show, and we did a big New Year's Eve show. I'm sure there probably would have been more, honestly, if it all hadn't have gone to shit, like no doubt,
Yeah.
And there will be some again in the future. But yeah, I mean, I kind of wanted to dig into right away. I kind of wanted to start to talk about, kind of growing up. I mean, I don't want to, we're going to talk about, the projects that you have as well, and obviously going on now and some you've been into. What were some of I know you've been playing for a long while. I mean, you're only, is it 20? You're 20 or 21?
I'm 21.
21.
Yeah.
And you've been performing not only just as a guitar player at home, but you've been performing live for a number of years. I mean, not just locally, you've been all over Canada and all different parts of the world performing music. What are some of your early inspirations and what kind of got you started in music?
My parents are both musicians, so without them, I definitely wouldn't be exposed to as much music as I was. My dad's a guitar player and a singer. My mom sings as well. So right from day one, I was always surrounded by music, and there was like a little piano in the house, a little toy piano. When I was like 2 or 3, started messing with that. So they put me in piano lessons, and then I later found guitar when I was 8 or 9, and then from there, that's just all I wanted to do, was be a guitar player. And so I just would practice all the time, every single day. Listen, and you learn now differently. There's so many lessons available to kids and stuff online to learn. My whole thing was watch dad play his few chords, and then I'd go listen to a CD or listen to the radio and just try to play along. So that was, the two of them early, are my earliest influences into music. And then my first few years gigging was with them too, which is really cool. So, my first gigs on, George Street were with my parents, which is kind of interesting.
You mentioned your dad playing. I mean, you're a left-handed guitar player. Did your dad play left?
No, and that's he gets a little pissed with that, because anytime I acquire a new instrument, he can't really play it. But yeah, he had a lot of patience, so they didn't force me to play right-handed, and it was silly because I'm right-handed myself. I just decided it was a good way to play. So he like put a right-handed guitar like in my arms upside down, so I could just like strum away, and he'd like form chords and just build a sense of rhythm for me, and stuff like that. So right from day one, they were always really supportive in what I was doing, and we're just like, hey, whatever you want to do, we're gonna be there to help you out.
No, and they are awesome people. I've met them both on numerous occasions, man. They're always out at your shows. I remember we did a show actually together, Whitty Band and Nick Earle. It was the Nick Earle Band. I think it was the last show before it actually became the Reckless Hearts, essentially.
I believe so, yeah.
And your folks are selling merch for you. I mean, they're awesome. They're awesome people, man. They're always out to the shows, and they're always good for a drink and a laugh. Like they're super awesome. Yeah, that's really neat. That it kind of got that influence from your dad and your mom both as well. What were some of your early inspirations, like musically, like your bands, like you listened to growing up and stuff?
Yeah, every kid, it seems, got into the Beatles. For me, my two biggest inspirations, and they kind of contrast from each other, was Stevie Ray Vaughan, phenomenal blues guitar player, and then the original guitar player for Kiss, Ace Frehley. So it was just like, I loved Kiss. Like 70s Kiss was my shit. Like that's all I wanted to listen to, and I loved the whole stage and the performance aspect of their shows. And then when it came to the root of the soul of music and looking at blues stuff, that's where Stevie Ray Vaughan came in. So you'll kind of hear that in my electric playing, and kind of see both of those styles. I like to think, anyway.
Yeah, no, yeah, you nail it. Absolutely. I hear that definitely in you. Starting off with some of the projects, like I know obviously you have the Reckless Hearts going, right now, and before that was Earl and Coffin, but before that was Stompbox, right? Am I right in saying that?
Yeah. So
can you talk a little bit about that project and what that entailed?
Yeah, so when I was 13, I started 13. It was my first paid gig downtown, and it was a blues jam with Dennis Parker, and John Clark, and I think a few other hands came in that night, and I got to play a set with the guys, and that's kind of what got my name out as a blues kid here in St. John's. And then just through gigging over the next couple of years, I met Joe Coffin, who, of course, is half Earl and Coffin, who also was in Stompbox. So we started jamming a little bit, playing blues stuff, and I'd already been friends with the drummer of Stompbox, Jacob Cherwick, who was also a lovely fiddle player, and I gigged around with him doing instrumental music, because I didn't sing for a long time. Probably my first five or 6 years gigging, I didn't sing at all. So three of us would jam together, just mainly acoustic blues stuff, and just have some gigs around, the Avalon Peninsula area. And then we were looking for a bass player. And, as 14, 15-year-old kids, there's not a ton of bass players out there, which all I'm saying, if you want to play bass, go play bass, because I love playing bass. It might be my favorite thing ever.
I'm going to say as a 34-year-old, there's not many bass players around, but yeah. Sorry, continue. Yeah.
So we put an ad on Kijiji and found Nick Benza, who's the son of Paul Benza, who taught at Munn for many years and was an absolute brilliant musician in his own right. So yeah, we started just gigging together, and had a love for electric music as well. And we was like, we got to rock it up. And we wanted to be unique wherever we went, so we started wearing suits everywhere we played. So it's this blues rock band that's going to be really loud and kick the door down, but we're going to show up in suits,
looking dapper as fuck every time. Yeah.
every time, man. That's it, man. We had to dress the part, and people seem to appreciate it for a long time.
Yeah, no, that's really neat. And when I was doing a little background on you, I noticed that well, I didn't realize originally that Joe was in Stompbox as well. So was that where the transition came to Earl and Coffin?
Yeah, we kept doing the acoustic stuff while we were playing with Stompbox, and then as the Stompbox gigs kind of phased out, we just kept pushing through with the duo. But we always remained on great terms with the guys, and we've done a reunion show since with Stompbox, and I don't say that would be the last one. I say we'll do it again.
I gotta hand it to you, Nick, man. You always intrigue me so much. You're 21 years old and you're doing reunion shows already.
That's it, man. You gotta keep it going somehow.
I mean, Earl and Coffin were. I mean, you guys were. Like really on fire. I mean, for a while, like there was a couple of Canadian Blues Awards or Folk Awards in there, I believe, right?
Yeah. So together we won 2 Canadian Folk Music Awards. We were nominated for like a multitude of ECMAs and Maple Blues Awards and Music and L Awards, and we won a couple together too. And for us, it was just, right. We 15, 16, we were, gigging that blues stuff, and there wasn't a lot of young kids doing that, and we just wanted to be a force in the blues community and represent our province well. We got to do the International Blues Challenge and go gig down in Memphis and that, and we toured every province. We missed the territories, but we played a gig in every province, and toured down the States a little bit too, and just wanted to keep blues music alive, but also have our own twist on it, and yeah, just gig as much as we could.
Yeah, no doubt, absolutely, and you guys did. I mean, I remember watching just the tours as a, like, how old you would have been? About 15 then, 16 perhaps?
Or? Yeah, we gigged together doing that from 15 to 18. So
okay, yeah,
those 3 years we pushed pretty hard.
And you mentioned kind of keeping the blues alive and that major influence on you. I mean, that probably goes hand in hand with saying that's kind of. I want to get into the Reckless Hearts. So, does that music still kind of transition? I know what it does, but for our listeners, I mean, does that music still transition to the new band, which is now Nick Earle and the Reckless Hearts?
Yeah. So that whole endeavor came after my first solo record, and for me, I wanted to have one last push into blues music and blues rock music, just because it meant so much to me. And as much as I still will play that music in my live show, I just wanted to have something recorded it was the power trio. We're playing blues rock, and it's aggressive, it's meaty, it's in the face, and we just want to get it out to people, because there's not a lot of people playing that music anymore. And for me, it was really important to have a record made like that.
Yeah, I kind of jumped ahead there. I meant to ask you, upon reading a few things there, it looked like Joe was kind of looking to do something else outside of music. He was, aiming a different way. I mean, you're only a young guy. It was kind of made perfect sense to kind of roll into a solo career then, which is when you recorded Breaking New Ground, which is before the Reckless Hearts, right? But it
Correct.
features. Dan, is Dan on the record?
Yeah, so Dan played on the record, and
yep.
then and Quote the Raven sang some harmonies, and Rachel Cousins is on that record too. And then I did all the guitars and bass and stuff. And it was really the first crop of tunes that I had written. And they're basically written in the wings of Earl and Coffin shows. While we were touring, I just go just sit in the wings of the hall while we did a sound check or something. And it was a really stripped down approach of writing music, just literally pen and paper and an acoustic guitar. And yeah, it was just a different endeavor. It's just I'm always exploring musically. Just wanted to have something different.
Was that your first real kind of take at singing then, or were you doing much singing with Earl and Coffin, or was that where you kind of broke new ground on the singing?
Yeah, so I sung a few tracks on the second Earl and Coffin record. That was like an electric band thing titled Wood, Wire, Blood, and Bone. And then on the EP that we did, it was called The Day in July, and that one won a Canadian Folk Music Award. I sang a few tracks on that, but right. Really, I was singing in some of our live sets, but it was only like in the last, the last run of Earl and Coffin when I was really singing. So that was my vocal debut. It was the first time that I had to carry a show on stage myself. And definitely like in the studio, it was a very, very big learning process, trying to carry a record by yourself, at least vocally.
Yeah, no doubt. Absolutely. So, you put out that record then, and then, what kind of came of the Reckless Hearts? Like, where did that come into the picture? Was it you didn't want to keep a solo career? You were looking for more of a band feel, or how did that kind of come about?
Yeah, so the Reckless Hearts really just became the touring band for the Breaking New Ground record. And then as we kept playing shows and gigging together, I realized I had to cut a second record to do something. And I realized that I wanted to at least have one more kick at blues music and have something a little more grittier. So it was just a matter of playing with those cats, Claire Follett and Dan George, and we went to we worked with Paul Brace on that record. We recorded at Vibe City Studio, and just went in and started doing some sessions as a trio. Tried to keep it as raw as possible. A lot of stuff was recorded live off the floor. And just wanted to have music with a lot of feel to it, and that wasn't super polished. And it showed the evolution of myself as a musician and how I wanted to make a record and do it that way. But it also just showcased a different side of me, and it was a lot of electric blues and a lot of guitar solos, and with the live shows for that, it was a lot of hair flips and kicking stuff. So it's a lot of fun.
What was the some of the songwriting processes for that record? Was it mainly yourself, or was there some input from the band or in the studio, or did you kind of bring a song in, or how did that kind of play out with the songwriting process?
Yeah, starting out, I had a couple tracks. The lead single off that album was called "I Want to Know," and I was actually on tour with Dan, and Hunter Madden was with us. Claire couldn't make that tour, and we were jamming in Rothsay, New Brunswick, and just like at a barbecue, had a few beer or whatever, and just like sitting out, hanging out, jamming out. And we had a full setup where we were. So it was just like the guitars were set up, bass, drums, and we just started jamming over. I was tuned to open G, playing some slide licks, and just through riffing out and just like literally just ad-libbing lyrics on the spot. We just came up with the tune. So, those two fellows have a co-write on that.
Oh, nice.
And that was the lead single for the album, and that's what still gets the most attention today.
It is. It's a banger, no doubt. Like, it's a great track. Yeah, Hunter Madden, man. I've never met Hunter before. I follow him on Instagram. He follows me, and I see him play on live on Instagram and stuff. Like, he's a monster. Like,
that dude got chops.
Yeah,
like,
he
chops
can play, man, and not just. He plays everything. Like, he rips bass. He's a great drummer. He's a guitar player. Like, it's it's crazy. Yeah.
Man, the few dates that I did with Hunter were incredible. We had a set opening for Miles Goodwin of April Wine doing his blues thing in PEI, and like just a power trio. It was myself, Hunter, and Dan, and just trading solos back and forth with your bassist is not the most common thing ever. And to be able to do that, I mean, he pushed me really hard on those dates to be a better player, and it's like some of the best guitar I've played so far was probably on those run of dates, only because he was just pushing me with all of his chops.
Yeah, I bet. So the last record you put out is Nick Earle and the Reckless Hearts, self-titled, right?
It is, yeah.
Yeah. Nominated for 4 awards, and you took home 3 awards, I believe, in 2020, right? It was the
I think
or two. Yeah, sorry, Rock Artist of the Year and Group of the Year.
Correct. Yeah,
man, great awards. I mean, must have been really neat. I know it's like one cool thing I thought about that when I first read that. Obviously, I knew it at the time. I was just getting refreshed on it today. But Group of the Year. I mean, that must have felt pretty good. I mean, the Rock Artist of the Year. I know you've been working pretty hard yourself, but it must have been nice to have that feeling and to be able to share it with the band, right?
100%. Yeah. They put a lot of work into that record, and as much as we didn't get to tour it like we wanted to, it was really nice to see that people appreciated the music, and then of course that Music and L give us the honor of that, which is great.
Yeah, no doubt. Congratulations on that. I mean, it shows in all your hard work. I mean, I see you working all the time, man. You're a slave to the game and a dog. It's incredible. And we were chatting just the other night. And we were discussing the ECMAs that are coming up. I wanted to pick your brain a little bit online on that and kind of chat with everybody, at home. And I mean, obviously we're in a real weird situation. Like, it's COVID is still here. Like, it's still in the world. I mean, it's taken over Ontario. You see what's happening in other parts of Canada. We've been very lucky. I mean, I read something the other day. It's like, I don't know if we've been lucky or we've been good. You know, I don't know if there's a difference. I think there's a bit of both. We come from a small place, small island. So I think that's played in our favor. But on top of that, we've also been good. There's been some big lockdowns and stuff like that. Right now, we're doing pretty good again. Me and you are back to gigging pretty regularly, you know, for the most part, doing our weekday gigs and stuff like that. But the ECMAs were coming up, and I know just, you know, as of 2 or 3 weeks ago, it was looking like all hands on deck. I mean, everybody was traveling from Newfoundland because it looks like the bubble was going to open with no restrictions. And if for anybody who's maybe listening outside of Newfoundland or Atlantic Canada, the Atlantic bubble is essentially they align the 4 provinces with Newfoundland, Labrador, Nova Scotia, Prince Edward Island, and New Brunswick to basically become as one, so you could travel freely within the 4 of them without having to quarantine for any period of time. So that was looking like it was the way it was going to be for the ECMAs, which are this year in Cape Breton, Nova Scotia. It looks like things there's been red flagged. So what's the plan right now? I know you had a big showcase coming up. So, you know, what's happening with that?
Yeah, like first of all, I know I can speak probably confidently on behalf of a lot of bands right now and artists that we're going to showcase. When I say I'm gutted, we're all pretty gutted. But also you can't expect things to be normal when, you know, there's a virus still, you know, everywhere, and we're dealing with a global pandemic. So, you know, as of right now, basically they're allowing artists to submit content that was recorded. So it's kind of like a virtual showcase, and that artists that can still go and attend the conference that can, you know, can or that are able to quarantine for possibly a month, but maybe just 2 weeks, those artists can still go and showcase. But I'm not really sure what that's going to do for the bills of shows and things like that. I know out of I think the 8 acts from Newfoundland and Labrador that we're going to go showcase, I think only 2 are going now. So I'm not really sure how that's going to go, how it's going to play out. And the whole conference, the only thing about it, like, that's super strange to me, is that the only thing that's live is the showcase. The delegates are not attending now. All the panels, all the conference stuff that you would do is all virtual. So you're just going to be sitting in a hotel room watching it over Zoom. So I don't really see the benefit of them keeping this going. I mean, they just canceled the Junos, you know, which is, it's like the 50th anniversary of the Junos, and they canceled that. So I'm really surprised to see the ECMAs are just going to push forward and really just leave artists, you know, stuck at home and missing out on opportunities like that.
Yeah, it's no doubt a tough situation. And I mean, my heart screams for anybody who is, you know, put out a body of work in the last year and is perhaps up for a nomination or has a big showcase. And we're looking forward to that. I mean, myself and Dan were chatting the other night, and not only just to get out and do the showcasing but man, just a little break just to get away, you know what I mean? Because as musicians and artists, we're so used to traveling, we're so used to being on the road, and we've been confined to home, you know what I mean? Ever since, you know, since whenever. But when we were chatting the other night, you were mentioning, and I want to talk a little bit more about this in a little bit, but not only were you going to showcase with, you know, Nick Earle and the Reckless Hearts, you were also going to be you know, working with a bunch of other bands as a member of those said bands. Like,
correct.
So how does that work for, you know, for those bands as well? That must have been a tough decision.
It's really hard. You know, I was trying to find a way to make it work. But realistically, it's really hard to, you know, willingly take 2 weeks off of work, let alone whether you have to take a month off of work. Because basically right now, if you travel to Cape Breton, it just changed. You do have to isolate for 2 weeks. And then when you return to Newfoundland, you have to isolate for 2 weeks as well. And the conference is May 5th to the 9th. So, you know, it's just a matter. So I was checking with all the bands I was playing with, like, who's going, who's, you know, how can we do this? And the second that it kind of came down that we're really unsure about the bubble, everybody that I was playing with was just like, it's not going to happen. We're not going to be able to do it. That's it. Which is really tough for artists that not only are, you know, established or have been going to this conference for many years, but like, you know, myself, like, I have I'm exporting new content. I have a new record coming. I have a bunch of new music done that I'm really excited to showcase and feel like I've had a bunch of growth in the past year. But also the new artists who haven't attended that conference before, or haven't had an export buyer showcase, or haven't done the grind, or haven't toured, now can get the chance to get in front of presenters and be able to tour in the next year. So it's really just another. We're going into the second year of musicians' careers being derailed essentially, and there's not a whole lot of people holding on anymore, which is tough to see and sad to see. And all I can do is give my props to the artists that are still holding on and still gigging and doing what they can.
Yeah, and I'm right there with you, man. Lots of props to anybody who's still grinding, and I want to talk about the side work you do with a number of bands, but what was I wanted to mention something then. It was no, it'll come back to me. Anyways, the side work that you do, I know you do work with a number of bands and a number of different artists and stuff. Can you talk a little bit about that and some of the people that you've played with and you work with, especially in the last few years for sure.
Yeah, I mean, right now I play guitar for Justin Fancy, who just has been nominated for an ECMA and is really making a surge in the Canadian country music scene.
Yeah, great record. I mean, great guy. I mean, just great tunes. You know what I mean? Like, man, nailed it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that record is phenomenal. Yeah, lots of hits. And I work with Rosemary Lawton, who's been a multiple time award nominee at Music NL and whatnot. I play guitar for Claire Follett. I play guitar for Rachel Cousins, and then another exporting young artist from here, Abigail, who cut a country record. I was going to go be her session player. So that was her first kind of exposure outside of this province at the ECMAs. But yeah, so that's those are my main side gigs right now, and of course I gig with you sometimes. So
yeah, that's right. We've had a few. We've spent a few late night Tibbs Eve going into Christmas Eves here on I probably shouldn't divulge my address, but downtown St. John's anyways.
Yeah.
I kind of want to talk about COVID, man, and how it's affected you. I mean, we just discussed the ECMAs. I mean, what have they been the effects and what have you done to kind of keep yourself afloat and to try to keep your name out there and like what were some of the methods you used to try to keep on top of things and to try to keep your chops up and whatever,
Yeah, so for me, it's been a strange blessing in disguise, at least musically. I worked as a touring artist, from high school up until COVID, basically. And when COVID hit, I just didn't know what to do. So of course, you're trying to. The CERB came in at first, and still sitting at home doing stream shows and doing whatever we could. And then as soon as June of last year hit, I basically just throw my name in the hat in the cover scene downtown St. John's. So like that George Street, that whole strip, I threw my name in the hat, and I started off doing a couple gigs a week, and then it just kept building up and building up and building up to the point where I'm doing 9 or 10 4-hour slots a week, just gigging and doing what I can. And what's really crazy about all that is that, when I first started, doing those, I'd be doing 2 4-hour nights. I'd be burned out. I'd be completely burned out. My voice would be blown out. I just couldn't keep up with it. So throughout all this, it's been a matter of working my vocal cords and get my voice stronger. But also throughout all that, you're whether you're doing cover stuff or you're doing your own music, you learn what people like. Doing something a bunch of times is not necessarily a bad thing. You keep learning and growing. So the last almost year now has been tons of self growth in terms of playing and it's just a matter of getting reps in, but without, with COVID, that's what happened. And without it, I would probably be touring and traveling a bit more. But it was just making the best of a bad situation. And I've had help from some great friends and whatnot in the community, in the music community here, of just being like, hey, check over here. There could be a gig here for you, or there could be something coming up here. That's one thing I do love about our music scene here is that I know it's been competitive in the past. And what it seems like now is that most people are there out there to support each other. And if there's a gig here, someone needs help here, or if someone's playing a venue across the street and needs strings or a capo or something, we're a pretty big family, it seems.
Yeah, and I think we've been pretty lucky. I mean, I've beaten around that scene for a number of years as well, on top of traveling and touring and releasing original material. I mean, that's been my bread and butter is George Street essentially. And for anybody who doesn't or hasn't been to Newfoundland maybe, or who has never been to St. John's, I mean, George Street is a street on St. John, in St. John's, right downtown, right on the water. I mean, I think it houses, I want to say like 21 bars, I think, or a number like that. It has, over half of them are at least live music venues. There's live music every single night at a ton of these different bars. You can hear, you can go from one bar and hear Irish trad music. You can hear classic rock. You can hear hip hop. You can hear heavy metal. I mean, there's all kinds of different genres. And you're right, Nick, you nailed it. I mean, it's a big family. Everyone's very supportive, and it's happy that it's like that, because I'll tell you what, man, when I first started kind of doing that, it wasn't necessarily like that. It was a bit tougher to kind of break into that. I mean, everyone kind of held their gigs in high regard, and to have a new person kind of come in and maybe, I don't want to say steal them, but maybe take a few of them over. I mean, it always kind of gutted people, but everybody it all kind of works out in the end. I mean, everyone kind of moves around a bit and all that stuff. So, I mean, you're right. But one thing that caught me then when we were just chatting, and you said, about how you said you're after the first couple, your voice had burned out, you know what I mean? And it seems like now you're getting more used to it. I was sitting with Robert Kelly last week, who's a friend of both of ours. I mean, we've both worked with him on a ton of different projects. And he gave me a sneak peek of something new that you're recording. Don't tell him I told you, but he gave me a sneak peek. Actually, I came in there and he was mixing it, and I heard it. And I just said, damn, man. I said, man, Nick's vocal chops are so up, man. And he looked at me. He said, yeah, that's from his apprenticeship on George Street, because that is what it is, man. I mean, people, I think that's one of the best things that young musicians in our city can do, is go out and face people head on. Like you said, you learn what people know and like. You learn how to control your voice. You learn how to control the situation. I mean, it's essentially an apprenticeship. I mean, you kind of did it backwards because you were on the road first more, but now it's such a great thing for you, because now your two worlds kind of collide. You've gotten that major experience from really pushing yourself almost every single night. You know what the road is like. So, I mean, hopefully when this fucking COVID thing is over, you can bash both of those together and just be an absolute legend, like you already are, to be honest.
Man, I can't wait. It's just one of those things that, like, I've definitely, you don't want to be one of those people patting yourselves on the back, but I've worked my ass off the past 9 months. I think if you average the number, I've averaged 30 hours of singing a week over 9 months. And I have 7 new tracks recorded. I have an acoustic record pretty much done. So I'm throwing a single out early in May. Just get some content out there and just be like, you know what, people, like, when stuff opens up, I will be back. I will be touring. Things will happen again. And just to let you know, I'm still here. I'm still working hard. And yeah, there's a lot more to come,
yeah, no doubt. And I mean, I think your fans and they're looking forward to that. I mean, I'm looking forward to the new record, man. I like I say, I heard a couple of the tracks that Robert kind of gave me a little glimpse, and they're fantastic, man. So I think that people are really going to like them, and they're going to be receptive really, really, really well. I mean, so really looking forward to that as well. Besides that, do you have any big plans kind of for the future? I mean, I know it's hard to plan, Nick. I mean, we don't really know what the situation is, and anything could drop at a dime. Do you have any touring plans even within the island plan, or are you just going to keep grinding for the summer and keep working on your new records?
Yeah, so for me right now, the plan, I'm going to grind out my summer and still release material accordingly, hopefully 3 to 4 singles over this year, and then drop the record next year. But what I'm kind of hoping is that when my virtual showcase gets submitted to the ECMAs, buyers will be looking to book festivals for 2022. And hopefully, at the least, I'll be able to do an Atlantic Canadian tour, whether it's myself, whether it's me and the band, whatever it is, just to get out there and just, share my music and share what I'm creating, and just get out of the province and move around a bit, right?
I hear you, man. I'm right there in the same boat. I'm looking forward to it too. I want to ask you a couple like kind of fun little questions that I think people might like, and kind of just to get into your brain a bit. Like, can you talk about some of your songwriting processes? Like, I know everybody kind of writes differently. I mean, some people take a pen to pad and write a song. Some people, there's all kinds of different things. Like I've sat on a plane and I wrote a full sheet of lyrics with no melody in my head, just full lyrics. Then come home and stick a song behind it. Like, can you talk about some of the songwriting process for yourself?
Man, lately what it's been, just trying to create stuff that's a little more commercially accessible, and and it's just been trying to have a hook. So like the second that you get something that's a hook, focus on that and try to get a chorus, because if you have a catchy chorus, that people are going to remember that song. You know what I mean? And don't be scared of the boundary or the genre, whatever you're writing for. So it's like once you have that chorus, and if you have a strong chorus, you're like, you have a song. You know what I mean? So it's just a matter of developing a structure that is friendly for that chorus. And this is for music that's trying to be commercially accessible. It's you have your intro, your verse, your pre-chorus, chorus, maybe a bridge. For me, it's probably a guitar solo because I like guitar solos. But yeah, man, once you have a hook, like the hook is what does it. I've written other songs that I had something on my mind or something that was close to me, and maybe I wrote it a little differently, just sat down with an acoustic guitar. But for me, it kind of depends what I'm writing. I mean, I've had scenarios like Queen of the Night is a tune that I've written and I've been performing a whole bunch, and that's going to be the lead single for this next record. I just got the artwork back for it today. I'm very, very excited. But I saw Queen of the Night written down somewhere. I don't know what I was reading. I don't remember if it was the paper or a magazine, but I saw that and I just wrote that down. I just wrote down Queen of the Night.
Yep.
And then
that's a hook. That's a line. Yeah.
That right. And then so the whole song for me, it's about when you're in a bar, if you're on George Street particularly, which is like a bar street essentially, that person that captures someone's attention, or they think the whole night's kind of about them, and you see them in the bar, but everyone's kind of like, yeah, you know what, she's the life of the party, she's the queen of the night. So right. That's what that song right away. That's just what I thought of, and it was like, I'm working in nightlife right now. That's what I'm doing. So that's what worked for me. But like in contrast, another tune I wrote. It's called Borrowed Time, and that'll be out. And that's kind of just about working away from someone you love. And really that's just from, touring and having someone at home waiting for you. And that is like, I hope that people, will hold on to the hook, but it's more just so about telling a story. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, if you've written one song, you're a songwriter. And if you got something to say and you can put it across in music, that's a beautiful thing to be able to do. And also, if you capture people's attention and emotions, they'll probably buy your records too. So shit, man.
And that's what it comes down to, man. But hilariously enough, you nailed it. That's exactly what it's like. But I mean, you mentioned the commercial side of it. Like, are you trying to write it in the sense that like it could get picked up for a movie or commercially? You mean radio wise? Like what do you decide between those?
So music, for me, music that's commercially accessible is music that you'll hear on the radio. It's music that isn't too long. It's music that'll be thrown into curated playlists. And it's music that is not necessarily what's being put out right now, but it relates to what's being put out right now. So, what I'm writing is still in the context of a band, because I like playing in a 4-piece or a 3-piece band. Right now it's going to be a 4-piece. But I like, that rock band traditional sense where, we're singing our songs and we're playing them and doing it. But some of the formats and the song structures are accessible, like something you'd hear on the radio right now. So, no, I don't have a brother making my beats, and I'm not Billie Eilish with sweet dyed hair, although I might dye it, who knows. But it's just in that same format of it'll be accessible to people and hopefully be picked up by radio. So it's funny when you talk about these little like industry insider things. It's like, you want if you want your shit on CBC, 3.5 minutes, don't curse that much anyway, otherwise they'll put you on the late night playlist. I said shit in my first single and it still got played, so sweet, but it was just like after 10 p.m. they'll play it,
right.
And I know Bill Roach played it for me. He was like the first person on CBC to play it on the East Coast Music Hour. And I got a text and he's like, I didn't know you said shit in it, what's going on? But that's it. And you want to make sure that it's hooky and over 100 BPM.
So it's grooving. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to pick your brain on, I really wanted to ask you, because I feel like you would have an interesting answer to this. Because you're a young musician and you're a young man, I mean, you have a ton of credibility. You have a ton of experience. When I talk to you, I forget how young you are. I mean, I'm sorry to keep bringing it up, but I'm sure that fucking drives you nuts a lot of times. People always saying that shit. But one thing I wanted to ask you about, man, is, okay, how can I word this properly? Essentially what I'm going to ask you about is streaming platforms. Okay. Because I grew up, I put out a record. My first record I put out, there was no such thing as Spotify. There was no there was Apple Music, sorry, but it was it was you could only go on and buy records or singles. You didn't go on. There was no streaming side of that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, I really felt the pinch when I put out my second record, and streaming services were really coming on then. And I seen what the potential there was for people to purchase digital albums online, and on top of that, hard copy CDs. I mean, nobody's buying hard CDs anymore, and it's such a shame. I mean, but you can't really knock anybody, because who has a CD player? I mean, I have one at my cabin in my shed, I think, it's like they don't come in vehicles anymore. No. Obviously, vinyl is huge again now, which is really, really neat. I know you have a vinyl out as well, of the last record. It's a red record, right? Isn't that?
It is.
Yeah. That's really, that's hot, man. Really sexy stuff.
It's a collector item, baby. That's it.
Yeah. But what's your kind of thoughts on the streaming side of music? And because I feel like someone like yourself, like you've probably found it pretty difficult to make revenue off of your recorded music, right?
Yeah, so the only way that I make money off CDs, for example, or stuff that's like physical pressings, is when I tour. Because when you tour, you play a show, you do a little meet thing afterwards. People want to take a piece of you home, and that's when they get a CD or get a vinyl. You sign it, you meet them, shake a hand, take a picture. You want to make that a personal experience, and that's when you sell records. But otherwise, records in stores are not selling. CDs in stores are not selling. And of course, iTunes, people aren't going in and buying it's tunes for 99 cents anymore. Yeah,
exactly.
I don't actually know if that's
an option.
I don't even know. I don't even know if you could do that anymore. Because I remember like having an iPod back in the day, and like there were some songs you really wanted to buy, and going to get a card and just putting money on your account and buying stuff that way. So but yeah, streaming for me, it's bittersweet, because like a Spotify stream, for example, pays 1/10 of a cent per one stream, right? So that's what a stream is.
Okay, for everybody listening at home right now, can you just repeat that number, please?
Okay, so one stream on Spotify is worth 1/10 of a cent.
That's one play. So every time you play Nick's song or my song or anybody's song, that's 1/10 of a penny, right?
Yes.
Oh
exactly.
My God. Yeah, exactly.
So that's where you start getting a little bitter, when your streams go up, and then you realize how much you're earning revenue wise. But here's the flip side of that. Okay, so I'm a musician. I'm a full-time musician here in St. John's, Newfoundland, in a tiny island in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. No one knows I'm here, right? I have 200,000 streams right now on Spotify. That's my number. Okay. If I was just a kid waving business cards and CDs, do you think that my stuff would be listened to 200,000 times?
No, so absolutely not.
So that's the flip side of it. Do I think that there should be a way that Spotify could pay their artists better, or find a way to monetize their platform more, so they can increase their artist payout? 100%. But I'm not bitter about the platform in the same way that a lot of people are. I don't like the pay thing, but I do like the exposure. So it's like when all of a sudden, I put out a record, now all of a sudden I'm on, if you listen to the Trues, or if you listen to Matt Mays or Matt Anderson, or the, different Canadian bands like that, now all of a sudden I'm on their artist radio. You know what I mean? Or it's like, if you're in this random playlist, you're listening to the hip, and all of a sudden a Nick Earle track comes on. It's like, I don't know who that kid is, but I happen to like that song. Now they save that. Oh, and now someone just, you get another follow on Instagram, and then you can go into Spotify and see where people are listening to. So if I now all of a sudden have, 1,000 listeners in Rhode Island, I'm going to go to Rhode Island, and, when things open back up, you can plot your tours around stuff like that. So it's a useful tool that way. But in terms of people that want to support artists, if you want to support the artists, go to their website, buy their CD, buy their hoodie, buy their shirt, their beanie, whatever they have, because Spotify doesn't pay the bills. It won't pay the bills unless if they change what they're doing. And then also you got to realize that a lot of artists have to pay out like a publishing royalty or various costs. So it's like, out of everything that I've seen, the 200,000 streams I've earned and everything, I think what I might have had from that is $400, maybe. Yeah. So just think about all that. If you consume music, I consume music with Spotify too, so I can't even say I'm better than anyone.
I think everybody does. I mean, I do. We all complain about it, but we all use the service because it's so accessible, and you have instant finds of music. And And I do the same thing, like you just mentioned. Is how do I find artists? I find them because I put on playlists and I stumbled across them randomly, and then I'm like, damn it, I love this songwriter, and then they become my favorite songwriter, and then I hope that when they come to play in Newfoundland or I'm somewhere else in the country, that I can go check out a show because I became a fan of them because of Spotify. You nailed it on the head there. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the algorithm on Spotify is brilliant. I mean, there's so many bands and so many artists that, like you mentioned, you'd never find them, and now they become your favorite artists, and they'll be in your library, in your catalog of music for life. Like that's it.
Mm-hmm. Who are some of your your favorite Canadian artists right now? Who are you listening to? Anyone?
I'm a big goof for Matt Mays. Love Matt Mays.
Me too, man. Always. I love Mays. Yeah.
The Trues just dropped a new single. They wrote with Chris Kirby, which is always fun. He's another Newfoundland boy.
Yeah, you were out on the road with Chris, I think, just before COVID in the winter, I believe, right? What was that? What was that tour about?
So we did a tour with OSAC. They're the Saskatchewan Arts Council, and we were doing theaters every night, and it was phenomenal. It was, I mean, the provincial organization, of course, worked really hard to pack those venues. To see, and we were playing like rural Saskatchewan, like we did like 14 or 15 shows, and virtually unknown out in those various communities, and some venues were almost 1,000 people out there. So it was just absolutely incredible. They presented it as like Red Hot Blues, which was lovely because we did that, but then we also did some of our own stuff as well.
Sure, yeah.
And talking about engaging with communities and things like that. It's just a brilliant way to do it. And OSAC is something that you can actually go showcase for. So if anyone here is listening, an artist or you are artist or whatever you're doing, you can go showcase, look up OSAC, OSAK, look it up online. Yep. Nope, OSAC, sorry. It's the Arts Council of Saskatchewan. No kidding. Right. And you can go hopefully find yourself a tour. But yeah, brilliant. Touring out west is so much fun. The drives are a little long. What's the joke? It's like, you can like in the prairies, you can watch your dog run away for 3 days.
Yeah, especially the prairies. I mean, if you're out in BC or something, I mean, it's just fucking beautiful out there, but yeah, the Manitoba, Saskatchewan's pretty long and dry. There's not much seeing there for the driving stuff, but the people are so receptive and friendly.
Oh, it's brilliant. Yeah, it's cool, man. I've done some interesting tours like that. That was that one feels bougie. You're doing theaters every night.
Yeah.
Sleeping in a hotel. It's great. But also, I've done the Home Roots tour, which is another brilliant thing. That's a house concert tour. You're playing in strangers' homes and sleeping there, and then driving somewhere else the next day. And
right.
And I've done tours where I ended up down in the US, and the only way to make money was sleep in the van and shower with bottled water. So you know what I mean? It's just like, yeah, if you want to work at music, you're gonna find a way to make it work. That's just how it goes. There's some people who are lifers, and I'm probably guilty. Like I just as much as you want to have a backup plan and do something else, it's just like, or not even want to do something else, but have the ability to do it. It's just, man, once you get so deep, like that's it. I'm like, I guess 8 years into gigging for money, and I'm almost 4 years into doing it full time.
Yep.
I'm trying to, this is what I want to do and build my life and build my future.
Have you ever worked a normal job?
Man, I was a produce clerk for a hot minute, and I loved it. It was sweet. Yeah. Oh man, stacking fruit. All the same, if I could make like a good wage stacking fruit, like I'd do it. Like, cause it was deadly. Yeah, if there's any like produce manager gigs out there, just like, guys, just hit me up.
Holla.
No, but yeah, man, I did that. I worked at a movie theater and did
cool. So you've done a few other things, but I mean, obviously, you're a rock star, Nick, man. This is in your blood. This, man. Like you love it. We see it in your face every night when I see you perform, and you're a real, obviously an incredible talent, but you're just a real treat to talk to, man. I know we're friends, and we've spent a few nights together, and it's always a real pleasure to get to chat with you. For folks locally, where can we find you if we want to see you, if we want to see Nick Earle's face and his left-handed guitar?
Man, if you are in St. John's or anywhere within 1,000 kilometers and you want to drive to see me, I will be at Greensleeves on George Street on Sundays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Fridays, and Saturdays. But
they're all like they're all like a little bit different though, because sometimes you're with Derek or another duo, and there's a band. Yeah.
So Fridays I play with Derek Graham, and Saturdays we have a band called Glory Days, which plays no Springsteen, but
Really?
oh yeah, 0%.
That is the funniest. I never realized that, and that makes that so good, man.
Thursdays I play at the Newfoundland Embassy. Right now, Saturdays before I play at Greensleeves, I play at Golf Shots in Mount Pearl, and then Sundays I do a matinee show at Kitty Vitty Brewery from 2 to 5. So I haven't added all that up, but Sunday to Sunday it's usually like 9 or 10 gigs. So I'm out a lot, and it's not just cover stuff. I'm singing my own stuff. I'm singing what I used to work on. I'm singing what I'm working on. I do whatever I can to get my own music out there, but also make sure the room is happy and everyone's having a good time.
That's a great outlook, man. And for anybody abroad who may be listening now from Newfoundland, where can we find you online?
Yeah, so anywhere that you can stream music, like Spotify, Apple Music, Deezer, all that, I'm there. If you want to go to my website, nickearle.ca, you can order a CD or vinyl or any merch that way. On Facebook and Instagram, I'm always posting stuff. So that's you just put Nick Earle on Facebook. My musician page will come up, and it's Nick_Earle on Instagram. And if you follow me, I'll probably follow you back. So that you can find everything I'm doing there, and I'll be posting links to music videos and new singles when they're coming out and whatnot.
Well, I'm looking forward to that, man. Thanks so much, Nick, again, for taking a little bit of your time today to come on and join me. And I really appreciate it, man.
Thanks for having me on, man. I'm a fan of the podcast, so it's I'm glad to be part of it.
Awesome. All right, man. Thanks, and we'll catch up with you soon.
Yes, man. See ya.
Huge thanks to Nick Earle for coming on there. Really appreciate him taking the time and just coming on for a chat and telling everything about what he's been up to and what he's done over the last number of years and what he's got planned for the future. I mean, if you haven't had a chance to check this guy out, if you are in St. John's, make sure you do get out. Full of energy, incredible songs. Both his songs are incredible, and the stuff that some nights he does at Greensleeves and those other places he had mentioned. Great song choice. Just like you say, full of energy, and big thanks to Nick Earle for coming on there. That about wraps it up for me, guys. Big thanks to everybody who's been tuning into the podcast. Still looking for a sponsor? You want to hit me up and pay me for my few hours of doing these podcasts? It'd be awesome. Got a pretty good reach of these going there now. Getting a ton of people rating me every week. Really looking forward to the podcast and stuff. So maybe if you're a business or an individual who'd like to sponsor this podcast, please hit me up. If you are looking to find me playing some music this weekend, you can find me. Thursday, I'm at the Republic at 10 o'clock or 10:30. And Friday, I am at Trinity Pub at 10:30. And Sunday, I am at Greensleeves at 6:30. So hopefully we'll catch you out to a live show somewhere down the line, guys. Make sure you do stick around for... Make sure you go check out Nick Earle. I'm too far into this outro to cut this one now and edit it, so I'm just gonna roll with it. If you want to find me, guys, on my social media, you know where you get me. You can get me on Instagram at Dave Whitty, Facebook Dave Whitty, and please subscribe and like my YouTube channel. And if you've been enjoying these, shoot me a message and let me know what you've been thinking about these podcasts and all the guests. And if you got any ideas or you want to hear somebody special in the podcast, let me know. We'll have a chat with whoever. I mean, I just like chatting with funny and interesting and cool people who got a great story and people who are up to real neat things. So that about does it for me, guys. We'll check you out next week. Thanks so much for tuning in. Peace.